Welcome to this video, almost a Christmas video. We got the Christmas tree in the background. Very cool. So, the video today. Most people think willpower is a muscle that you can train to get stronger. They believe that if they just had more discipline, more mental toughness, more self-control, they could finally stick to their goals. But here's what nobody tells you. By the time you're trying to use willpower, you have already lost. The real enemy isn't weak willpower. It's something called decision fatigue, and it's silently draining your mental energy every single day without you even noticing. Every choice you make, from what to wear to what to eat to whatever you should check to whether you should check your email right now, is quietly depleting the same limited resource. And by the same time, you need to make the decisions that actually your tank is empty. But here's the good news. Once you understand how decision fatigue works, you can redesign your entire day to protect your mental energy and make better choices automatically. You will stop relying on willpower and start using something far more powerful. Intelligent systems. Let me show you exactly how. Decision fatigue isn't some motivational concept. It's been extensively by psychologists and neuroscientists for decades. The most famous study comes from researcher Roy Baumeister, who discovered that our mental energy operates exactly like a battery, not a muscle. Here's the key finding. Every decision you make throughout the day depletes the same cognitive resource. It doesn't matter if you're deciding between two equally good options or making a life-changing choice. The act of deciding itself costs energy. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're a judge reviewing parole cases. You'd think judges would make decisions based purely on facts and law, right? Wrong. A study of over 1,000 parole decisions found something shocking. Prisoners who appeared before judges early in the morning had a 70% chance of getting parole, but prisoners who appeared later in the day, after the judge had made dozens of decisions, their chances dropped to nearly 10%. Same crimes, same backgrounds, different times of day. The only variable was how many decisions the judge had already made. Another example, shopping. Ever notice how you make terrible impulse purchases at the end of a long shopping trip? That's not weakness, that's decision fatigue. Your mental battery is drained from comparing prices, evaluating options, and making choices for hours. By the end, you just grab whatever looks good because you don't have the energy to think critically anymore. Here's what's happening in your brain. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for self-control and rational decision-making, runs on glucose. When you make decisions all day, you literally deplete your brain's fuel. As that fuel drops, your ability to make good choices drops with it. So, the myth is willpower is a character trait you either have or don't have. The truth is, willpower is a finite resource that depletes with every decision. And most people are unconsciously wasting it on things that don't matter. But knowing this is only the beginning. The real question is, what's draining your decision battery right now and how do you stop it? Most people have no idea how many unnecessary decisions they're making every single day. Let me walk you through the invisible drains that are bleeding your mental energy dry. You wake up and immediately face a dozen micro decisions. What should I wear? What should I eat? Should I check my phone? Should I work out now or later? Each one seems tiny, but they add up fast. By the time you sit down to work, you've already spent 20 to 30 decisions and your most important work hasn't even started yet. Every email is a decision. Reply, delete, or save for later. If you're checking your phone 100 times a day, which is average, you're making hundreds of tiny decisions that have nothing to do with your goals. When you sit down to work without a plan, your decision paralyzes. What should I work on first? How long should I spend on this? Is this the right task? This constant internal negotiation is exhausting. People who don't have systems spend more energy deciding what to do than actually doing it. Every time you open Netflix and scroll for 20 minutes, every time you stare at a restaurant menu with 50 options, every time you browse social media feeds with infinite content, forcing your brain to evaluate and choose. More options don't make you happier. They make you more exhausted. Every time someone asks you to do something, you have to decide whether you say yes or no. That's a decision. If you haven't set clear boundaries, every request becomes an internal debate that drains energy. The people who say yes to everything aren't generous. They're just too tired to say no. Here's the brutal truth. Most people are making 200 to 300 decisions before lunch. And 99% of them don't matter. By the time they need to make a decision that actually affects their life, their career, their health, they're running on fumes. But here's the beautiful part. You can eliminate most of these decisions entirely, not by making better choices, but by not having to choose at all. Alright, let's get practical. The goal isn't to strengthen your willpower. The goal is to build systems that make decisions for you automatically. Here's your step-by-step framework. Decide once, execute forever. Pick out your outfit the night before. Better yet, build a uniform. Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Barack Obama, all of them wore the same thing every day. Not because they lacked creativity, but because they understood decision fatigue. Do the same with breakfast. Eat the same healthy meal every morning. No thinking required. Your morning routine should be so automatic that you could do it half asleep. Because guess what? You basically are. Instead of deciding what to eat every single meal, plan your meals once a week. Sunday afternoon, 30 minutes, done. Instead of deciding when to work out every day, lock it into your calendar. At the same time, instead of deciding which tasks to work on every morning, plan your week on Sunday night. One decision that covers 7 days is infinitely more efficient than 7 daily decisions. There are if-then statements that remove the need to think. For example, if someone invites me to something and it's not a clear yes, it's an automatic no. If an email takes less than 2 minutes to respond to, I respond immediately. Otherwise, it goes into my weekly batch. If it's before 10 a.m., my phone stays in another room. These rules eliminate internal negotiation. You're not deciding in the moment, you're following a rule you created when your mental energy was high. Reduce options everywhere possible. Unsubscribe from every email list that doesn't serve you. Unfollow every social media account that doesn't add value. Remove every app from your phone that isn't essential. Close every browser tab at the moment of the day. When you open your laptop tomorrow, you start fresh. The fewer inputs your brain has to process, the more energy you have to what matters. Your mental energy is highest in the first 2 to 4 hours after waking up. This is when your decision-making ability is sharpest. So why would you waste it on email, meetings, or busy work? Block your peak hours for your most important work. No decisions allowed except the ones that move your life forward. Everything else gets pushed to the afternoon when your energy is lower anyway. Remember, decision fatigue happens faster when your brain is low on fuel. So eat protein-rich meals that stabilize blood sugar. Stay hydrated, take short breaks between decision-heavy tasks. A 5-minute walk can restore surprising amounts of mental clarity. And here's the big one: sleep. If you're not getting 7 to 8 hours, your decision-making ability is already compromised before the day even starts. Once a week, spend 60 to 90 minutes planning the week ahead. Decide your top 3 priorities. Schedule your deep work blocks. Plan your meals, review your calendar, and eliminate unnecessary commitments. This single session makes dozens of decisions in advance, so the rest of your week runs on autopilot. Here's what happens when you implement these systems. You stop spending mental energy on trivial choices and start channeling it toward the decisions that actually create results. Your willpower doesn't get stronger, but it doesn't need to because you're barely using it. Up until now, we've been talking about decision fatigue as a productivity problem, but the truth is, it goes deeper than that. When you master decision fatigue, you're not just getting more done, you're reclaiming control over your life. Think about it. Most people feel they're constantly reacting, constantly overwhelmed, constantly behind. They're making 1,000 tiny decisions every day, but none of them feel intentional. Days blur together, weeks pass, and they look back wondering where the time went and why nothing meaningful happened. But when you eliminate unnecessary decisions, something shifts. You stop living in reactive mode and start living in intentional mode. Your days feel lighter because you're not carrying the weight of constant choice. Your mind feels clearer because you're not cluttered with trivial questions, and your energy goes toward the things that actually build the life you want. Here's the deeper truth. The people who seem to have incredible discipline aren't more disciplined than you. They've just designed their lives to require less discipline. They've removed the friction. They've automated the basics. They've created systems that make the right choices automatic. And when you do this, you stop feeling like you're constantly fighting yourself. You stop negotiating with yourself about whether you should work out, whether you should eat healthy, whether you should focus. Decisions already been made. You just execute. This is where real freedom lives. Not in having unlimited options, but in having clarity about what matters and systems that protect your energy for those things. Alright, let's recap. Decision fatigue is real. Every choice you make depletes the same mental battery. Most people are wasting that battery on decisions that don't matter. And by the time important choices arrive, they're running on empty. The solution isn't more willpower. It's intelligent systems. Automate your morning, batch your decisions, create decision rules, simplify your environment, protect your peak hours, build energy buffers, and do a weekly reset ritual. Follow this framework and you'll stop feeling drained by the end of the day. You'll make better choices, you'll have more energy for what matters. And most importantly, you'll stop fighting yourself and start building momentum. But here's the thing. Eliminating decision fatigue only works if you know what to do with the energy you have. And that's where most people get stuck. They free up mental space but don't have a clear direction for where to point it. If this video helped you see decision fatigue differently, hit the like button. Subscribe for more videos on building a life that works with your brain instead of against it. And I'll see you in the next one.